Hello everyone and welcome back to another AFK journey video. In this video we have a monumental task. We're going to be ranking all of the heroes in AFK journey in a PvP tier list. I think this can also be helpful because it can give you an idea about Paragon priority as well, because like the PvP ranking is almost identical to the Paragon priority for a lot of heroes in this game. So I have included an S double plus tier. I'm going to be including very few heroes in this tier, but the heroes which I consider to be far above all other heroes in the game, because there are a couple of them, and so I had to include this tier. So I'm excited for this. Let's get right into it. So we're going to begin with Elsa. So Elsa is a hero who is doing well in crowd control nuking comps like Iron Almas. She's doing well in Clash Friends for that reason. Other than that, she can do fine in a Mauler-oriented team. Overall, she's a well-rounded, solid PvP hero. I do consider her an S-tier PvP hero, and so we're going to be putting her there. But very solid hero around, all around, but not necessarily super top tier. Okay, Antandra. Antandra is a hero which hardly anyone would be using in PvP, not really any major PvP use. I'm going to put in the C tier. I'm going to be very critical on certain heroes which I just think are not top or good options for PvP. I'm just going to be putting them in the C tier. Even if there's an argument for maybe considering them to be B tier, I'm just going to put them in the C tier if I think they're not really important for you to use or ever build on your account for the purpose of PvP. Okay, so next up we have Arden. Arden is a really difficult one because in the current season, Arden is very strong thanks to the Wilder faction talents. However, in the previous season, if you guys remember, Arden was quite underused. And so he is very dependent on faction talent tiles. For regular arena, he's pretty easy to kill, and he doesn't provide enough for you to be running him there. I think overall, I'm going to put him in the same tier as Elsa. I like him a lot as a PvP hero, but I can't actually position him in the S plus tier above because he's very reliant on faction tiles, and even with them, he is a fine option, not necessarily like a game-changing option for PvP. But S tier definitely is really a high tier. These are like heroes you want to like be prioritizing Paragon upgrades on your account. Okay, Atalanta. Atalanta as well, I'm going to put in the C tier. I know people can use her effectively and after a Supreme Plus upgrade, but personally, I would just never recommend running her or using her. I don't think she's great on defense, so I'm going to put in the C tier. Okay, Burial. Burial is a hero, he doesn't see much use. I'm going to be, again, critical. I'm going to put him in the A tier. I'm sure there are comps you can use him for to be S tier or above, but he's just not a very good hero or a good investment for your account, especially because he's competing with other Celestial Hypogeans which are way more impactful than him in PvP. Bonnie. Okay, so we already have the first hero I'm going to put in the top tier as double plus. So Bonnie is amazing because of her debuff. She will apply a debuff onto the enemy, which not only deals high damage per second, it will also reduce the haste, and eventually at full stacks, which is only two basically stacks, it will be also reducing the attack by I think 30% of the enemy's attack. That is massive, and this is not just one enemy who is going to be hit with this debuff. As soon as you max stack it, it will spread to the next two nearby allies, and then they're going to be debuffed as well, also taking this damage per second. She is just a ridiculously powerful hero that has massive damage output as well as insane debuff that no other hero can really compete with, and they are permanent debuffs. These debuffs are not dispellable. They do not have a duration. They will keep lasting as long as the battle goes on. And so she's really good in stall teams for that reason, because you can just like pump out the damage and it's just going to eventually destroy the entire enemy team. She also has a stun with her ultimate ability. She has some survival with her jump. So overall, Bonnie is top tier of PvP, and I do think she's one of the most future-proof heroes due to the crazy debuff she provides. Even after dying, the debuffs will stick on the enemies, keep dealing damage per second, and have that massive effect. It's honestly, Bonnie is one of the most game-changing heroes in AFK Journey just due to her PvP dominance. Okay, Brutus. So Brutus I'm going to put in the I'm going to put him in the A tier. In the previous season, he was really good because the Mauler buff tiles were really strong, and he can like counteract those enemies who like try to get kill stacks, like the Hurok, for example. And he can tank out the enemy team like for the whole, as long as the fight goes on, he can tank out because he has like that invincibility, and until it wears off, he can just take all the damage from the opponent. So for that reason, and you can also position him in the back tile to take enemy Vala marks, other Graveborn like faction talents in this season. He has a lot of uses. He's an overall solid PvP hero, but you don't have to like Paragon upgrade him or anything. Even the A tier and below, like they're good PvP heroes, but you do not need to Paragon upgrade them or make it a major priority. But I'm gonna keep in the A tier for now. Brian is, I'm also going to put in the A tier. I'm going to put at the top of the A tier. So the thing about Brian is that his main use is to take an enemy Lily May interruption. And Nero kind of does the same job. So he's not the only hero to do this. Also, he has decent damage output. And for like a lower level player who have, for example, not many hero options and Brian is built up, he might be one of your best damage dealer options. He is not a bad hero, but he's just not as good as Arden, for example, or Elsa in PvP. And like, for example, if you're just using him to take the enemy Lily May interruption, you can use Nero instead of him. You don't have to use Brian. And also it'll be easier usually to upgrade Nero to Paragon compared to Brian. So I'm going to keep him in the A tier. He's a solid PvP hero, but not anything game-changing. Callan. So Callan, I do not honestly have enough information about Callan. From all what I have seen in the two different accounts I play, all the duel matches, Callan is not being, like, I have not seen him that much. So that is kind of the issue. I can't make a definitive statement on how strong he is. He has an interesting kit. I definitely think he has some future-proof potential as well. Like, I can foresee some way of him getting a lot of use in the future. The issue with him, though, is that even though he has massive, like, damage reduction for your allies, he himself doesn't have any survival other than his shield, and he will massively, like, he will be nuked down at the beginning of the fight, especially if the enemy has high AoE damage, because he will be taking all of that damage for your team, and then his shield is going to be depleted, and then he can just be killed. So personally, for right now, I'm going to be conservative with Callan. I'm going to say he is in the A tier. I can put him at the top of the A tier, but I personally would not recommend like upgrading him to Paragon tiers. I do not think he's proven himself yet that he is like a top tier meta PvP hero, so that's why I have to keep him in the A tier. Carolina, I have to keep in the A tier as well. Yeah, I think a lot of heroes are going to end up in the A tier. So Carolina is good in crowd control nuking teams, but she is not as good as Arden or Elsa in them. She's mainly an AFK stage pushing hero nowadays, so Carolina is not as top tier as she used to be. Cassidy is a C tier hero for PvP. She's just not a good PvP option. You should avoid running her if at all possible. Dunlinger is a really interesting hero. I'm going to put him in the S tier. I'm not going to put him in the S plus tier. So Dunlinger is purely a tech PvP option, but because he can shut down enemy Iron ultimates at the beginning of the match, and now he can even like try to deny the energy boosting strategy of Cryanaya with Rowan, or for example Siren casting ultimate quickly due to 600 initial energy. Dunlinger does counter that. The issue with Dunlinger is he has survival issues, major survival issues. If the opponent has any like high upgraded team with high amounts of damage on it, you're good luck keeping your Dunlinger alive, even for long enough for the full first 12 seconds of denying the enemy ultimate. That is his issue. Like, if he had, for example, survival like Soren, who has multiple lives, and also providing this tech option, he would be amazing. His issue is his survival, and like, you can break through enemies who have Dunlinger as their only tank quite easily. So that is his major issue, holding him back. But he is a really good tech option on offense. If the opponent has like an Iron wombo combo team, you just run Dunlinger and you get almost a free win. So that is why I'm going to put Dunlinger in the S tier. Okay, Harak. Harak is very interesting. I don't know where I want to position him. Honestly, it's a toss-up between S and S plus tier. S is a conservative placement for him. S plus tier is like, yeah, I mean, with faction talent support in Supreme Arena, he has a potential of going pretty hard. And I think I am going to put him in the S plus tier because basically, I do consider Harak more of an offense hero. If the opponent has a stall defense, Harak is going to eat through that. And then he's basically, as long as Harak is assured his survival, he is going to win the fight. There's no one that is going to be able to outpower him, other than like Cryanaya, but we'll come to that later. But so he's a stall breaker hero. He's really good for that. On defense, he has a bit of survival issues. He can be focused down. However, even that being said, I am still running him on the pay-to-win account defense, and I try to make use of him like with the Greyborn faction talents. I think he's pretty good. Overall, solid hero. So I think we have to put him in the S plus tier. And you can even make arguments, Dunlinger, potentially S plus tier, but I'm going to say S tier for him and Harak in the S plus tier. For regular arena, Harak has issues, survival issues, so he's just not a top tier option there. But for Supreme Arena, he is really good with the faction talent support, but he needs to be babied in order to survive well. Okay, we have Coco. So Coco I really used to consider Coco a really top tier PvP hero, and she is great if she can get off her ultimate. The issue is a lot of fights now, like she basically never gets off her ultimate, and now because the fight ends too quickly, and now it's even more so because there are more hyper carries, there's more fast nuking, Siren Cryonia, which we'll come to when we see them, that like how is your Coco ever going to get any value off in a fight? So I have to put Coco in the A tier now. I cannot consider an S tier hero for PvP anymore. She's fine for like more budget options, Mauler oriented teams, but I guess it's also the issue that Mauler buff tiles are weaker this season. Like in the previous season, she was more valuable, but this season she is not as good. Okay, we have Seth. So Seth can be, I'm going to put him in the B tier. He's good in nuking comps, like Greyborn faction talents maybe, but he's just not overall like a top tier priority or option. I definitely don't think he's a C tier hero, but he's just like a below average PvP hero in my opinion. He's just not good enough, and he can't compete with the other heroes who are in the higher ranks. Shakir. Shakir is really interesting. Honestly, Shakir I really used to consider a top tier PvP hero, S tier above. But nowadays, again, the issue is he's just not doing enough. And like a lot of comps are not going to be these melee-oriented comps where Shakir can get a lot of value off. I think he has some future-proof potential if there's like any crazy melee-oriented comps in the future. However, even with all of that covered, I feel like he just doesn't provide enough to the team. I can position him in the S tier, but I could also put him in the A tier equally. And I don't know how harsh I want to be on him. I think for right now, we're going to put him in the A tier because I just do not consider Shakir top tier option anymore. Like I do run him on my main account, but that's only because I'm really invested into his Paragon levels because he's like Paragon 3 on that account. I kind of have to use him, but he's just not really getting the job done in PvP like he used to. But definitely, if you get like, for example, a future season with crazy powerful Mauler buff tiles like the previous season, Shakir would be S tier above. But currently, in the current state of things, or like about average level of faction talent tiles, he's not good enough. So I'm going to keep him in the A tier for that reason. Walker, I know people can use Walker like with his stuns, they can counter Bonnie to an extent, but like I do not consider Walker actually like a good option ever. Like he has niche uses, you can have offense uses, but a lot of heroes can have offense niche uses, so I'm going to keep him in the C tier. I don't think you should upgrade him. Cecia has crowd control, she has decent damage. Early game she's fine, but she's just at most a B tier PvP hero. Very quickly, once you have better hero options, you will not be running Cecia on your defenses or offenses, so that is why we have to keep her B tier. Okay, now we have Cryonia. So I'm going to put Cryonia in a position, maybe it might be controversial. I'm not putting her in S double plus tier. I do not consider Cryonia an S double plus tier hero. I consider her a very strong hero for PvP, but in the S plus tier. And maybe the top of the S plus tier. That's fine. The thing about Cryonia, yeah, if she casts her ultimate, she is almost guaranteed to win the fight for your team. There are a couple issues with that. If the opponent has nuking to kill your Cryonia before she's able to cast, that will counter it. If the opponent has Dunlinger and the Dunlinger can somehow survive for long enough, then that will also counter Cryonia. Or if Lily May can somehow interrupt like Cryonia, then that can also be somewhat of a counter. The issue I have with Cryonia is that she is mainly an offense hero. Just like Harak, she's a stall breaker. If you have a stall defense, Cryonia is coming for that and going to destroy it. If you have nuking comps, it's a bit more risky to run Cryonia. I still think you could always figure out like a way for a Cryonia offense to clear every defense, but that is not good enough. For an S double plus tier hero, in my opinion, they have to be a beast on offense, they have to be a beast on defense. Cryonia is almost there. Honestly, she is very strong on defense. I understand that, I admit it. However, I do think she is counterable to an extent on defense, and that's why I cannot put her in the S double plus tier. I think she is amazing right now. But we're going to come to ways of actually dealing with her when we come to other S double plus heroes that we will talk about. So that is the thing. Very solid PvP hero, but in my opinion, not S double plus tier. But I can understand if you wanted to put her there. Okay, Siren, very interesting. Now, this is honestly, after watching Siren the past few days and his evolution, I do think Siren is an S plus tier PvP hero. He's actually a very good hero. He is better than I expected in PvP. I did think he was going to be good, but his artifact denial, coupled with if you either go for artifact denial and energy boosting Cryonia clear comp, that is really strong. It protects the Cryonia with that artifact denial. Or if you go for a nuking comp, like a Greyborn faction talent nuking comp with Siren to block the enemy artifact, that gives you more like firepower from the first 8 seconds. Or if you just go for like an Iron nuke comp with Siren. So Siren has a lot of uses. He's even decent on defense due to that artifact denial. I do think he's a really good hero. He's honestly a strong PvP hero, and I do think he's the strongest PvP hero of this season so far. So if you are a major PvP fan, yeah, I mean, going for Siren and upgrading him, it can be beneficial for you. So we're putting Siren in the S plus tier. He's a solid S plus tier PvP hero, best PvP hero of the season so far. Okay, Damien is an S plus tier support. The fact that he can revive himself or basically respawn himself, that is a huge value for a lot of like PvP comps, regular arena as well, because that is where you want to stall out the opponent more. Cryonia does counter this stall type strategy, the slow like respawning strategy of Damien. However, there are still heroes which it still works well with against Cryonia. So Damien is a really top tier PvP support, but not S double plus tier, just S plus tier. Okay, Diurnal I am going to put in the S plus tier. He is a great damage dealer nuker. But the thing is, he is not as good as Cryonia, in my honest opinion. I still think he is relevant. It's not like Diurnal is kicked out of the meta by Cryonia or anything. Diurnal is still very strong. And with good support, like, for example, buffs from the beginning, like, or even Lorson as well to enhance your nuking capabilities, Diurnal is very strong. And also the advantage about Diurnal is as soon as his first arrow goes off in the first 3 seconds of the match, he is nuking the opponent. Cryonia is not really going to be nuking until she can cast her ultimate. So Cryonia is more ultimate dependent than Diurnal. Diurnal I think is a good hero with the Wild Faction tiles. He's really good in this season. So he's an S plus solid hero, but not as high a priority as the other Celestial Hypogeans. Iron, okay. I can't put Iron as double plus tier. I'm going to put Iron behind Cryonia in the S plus tier. So Iron is a beast on offense. He is amazing. Like, basically, when you talk about making top tier PvP defenses, you're actually planning, how can my defense counter Iron? Because Iron is the way that basically almost any defense can be broken. It has crazy nuking potential. In regular arena, basically, I have yet to find a defense that I cannot bring, for example, Iron, Bonnie type combos. Iron has great synergy with Bonnie as well, because it can help spread the debuffs of Bonnie's aging magic. And also, Iron deals good damage. It gives you immediate crowd control to allow the rest of your team to burst and nuke the opponent. Iron is a great hero. But the thing is, again, for the S double plus tier heroes, very few I'm going to be putting up there. So just keep that in mind. It's like very, very few. I don't know the exact number yet, but it's almost nothing. So I can't put Iron in the S double plus tier because he's not great on defense. He's fine on defense, like we make use of him on defense if you have limited options. However, he is not top tier on defense because the opponent can just bring Dunlinger to counter him, or they can just they can have a wilder type faction talent nuke team that is not going to be controlled or very effectively controlled by Iron. So he's an S plus tier hero, offense mainly. Twins. Okay, Twins I'm going to put in the S tier, along with Dunlinger. So I consider both of these, Dunlinger and Twins, these are supportive tech-type heroes. Twins are great with Cryonia to boost your energy. However, both of them have survival issues. Dunlinger and Twins both have major survival issues. They're easy to kill. If you burst heal them with like a Ludovic, then that is their best chance of survival. However, even then, they can still sometimes be broken through by heavy nuke of the opponent. That is a problem with the Twins. Overall, solid hero. Definitely S tier is solid for PvP, but not as strong as the S plus tier and above heroes, which are the more dominant. But definitely, yeah, these heroes are good supports, and they will help your like Cryonia team, for example, with the Twins, or Dunlinger will help the Diurnal team. Yeah. Faye is a C tier hero. We're not going to talk about her. Florabelle, I don't like Florabelle. I'm going to put in the B tier. I know I've invested Floribel on my main account. I got it to Paragon too. But honestly, she is just not a top tier option. You're mainly using her just for the wilder faction talents if you need them. You could put her in the A tier, but honestly, even at this point, I consider Brian more relevant than Floribel. I think I would probably prefer to have that. So yeah, I'm going to keep Floribel in the B tier. Granny, C tier hero, not a good hero for PvP. Hodgkin is a B tier hero. He's good in like stall oriented. I've seen him using like Mauler stall teams, and it's really annoying to deal with him. But again, he's just kind of a weird summoning type hero, doesn't have enough really damage, and he's just kind of a stallish type hero. So I'll keep him in the B tier. Haywin is an S plus tier hero, especially in this season, due to her amazing charms, which will allow her to have added survivability. That is going to almost guarantee you get an ultimate off during the fight, and that is massive value because that healing and damage reduction, that gives your team such an edge, and she's really good in stall teams, so we're going to put her in the S plus tier. Hugin is a support, a PvP support. He can give some energy, he can give that mechanized bond, he can give shielding, he has initial energy to try and take an enemy Lily May interruption. However, all of that considered, I think I can only put him in the A tier. I do not consider Hugin like an S tier above hero. He's fine for PvP. Arguably, you could place him in the S tier. Even some of these A tier heroes like Kalin, Hugin, Shakir, potentially you can move them up to the S tier. However, if I'm being a bit critical and if I'm being a bit conservative, I would say A tier. I do not consider Hugin as impactful for PvP compared to the S tier and above heroes so far. Kafra, I'm going to put in the C tier. I'm sorry, Vibin, but it is what it is, and I don't think most people should be building up Kafra. Igor, I'm going to put in the B tier. I know maybe this can rustle some feathers. I know some people like to use Igor. So arguably I could even put him in the A tier. Okay, I'll put him in the A tier. But the thing about Igor is Cryonite counters him pretty hard. Odie counters him hard. Even Siren now is countering him hard with the execution mark. So Igor just doesn't have that stall factor that he used to have, and even then, he was never really considered a top tier hero. So I just wouldn't really recommend people build Igor unless you're a big fan of him. I just do not think he is as impactful as the S tier and above heroes, definitely, and even most of the A tier heroes as well. Corin, he is a Dream Realm hero, not a PvP hero. Kruger, same Dream Realm hero, not a PvP hero. Lenya, I'm a pretty big fan of Lenya. However, she needs faction talent tiles to make her work. In regular arena, no, you should not be using Lenya. You're going to unless you have a huge Paragon difference compared to the opponent, Lenya is not the greatest option for regular arena. For Supreme Arena with faction talent support like the wild faction talents this season, she's pretty good. I'm gonna put it at the end of the S tier. I honestly cannot warrant even you could make an argument for her belonging in the A tier, but I think I'm a fan of Lenya, so I'm keeping her in the S tier, but at the end of the S tier. So take that with a grain of salt. Basically, you do not need to upgrade Lenya. You can pass on her. The other heroes are probably more important. But yeah, Lily May. We have our second S double plus tier hero. I hope everyone agrees with this, but Lily May is a hero that just by putting her on your defense, it is giving you an edge. Now, she has pretty high damage nuke from the beginning of the match. She's untargetable, so she has that survival, which is very needed for PvP matches, for your carries, because otherwise, if they don't have that survival, they are easy to kill, and they don't get enough of a job done in the fight. On defense, she is good. On offense, she is good. On defense, she is good because it will force the opponent to plan around her. If they do not plan around your Lily May, then you're asking for trouble, basically. Lily May has a potential to win the defense of the fight. Overall, Lily May is really good. Now, Lily May used to be the top hero in the game. No longer is she there. Bonnie, in my opinion, is more strong in PvP compared to Lily May. Overall, a more dominant and oppressive force. However, Lily May, I still think, is belonging to that double plus tier due to her amazing use on defense, her nuke from the beginning of the match, and the fact that she even has solo potential. Lily May has solo potential in a fight, along with like Damien, for example, to heal her, buff her haste. She is really good. Okay, Luca, I don't really recommend you running Luca. You can make an argument for him if Light Bearer meta ever becomes a thing. He's a decent tank. I'll keep him in the B tier. Lucius, you should not be running. He's just like a PvE hero. Lorison is going to be in the S tier. Now, this is the thing. I said Siren is the best tier, PvP hero of the season, and he is. Lorison is not, in my opinion, an S plus tier hero. However, he's pretty close to there. Lorison is great for nuking comps because of his chain that he will provide from the beginning of the match to cause damage dealt to the frontmost. or closest enemy, also being dealt through the rear or furthest away enemy, that is allowing you to nuke really hard. So like he does really well with diagonal comps. And honestly, if you had a well built up Lorison, you can probably figure out a good team comp which is going to take advantage of him. So Lorison is good. However, he doesn't have crowd control. He himself, other than this chain, doesn't offer a lot to the fight, but the chain is from the beginning of the battle, so that is an advantage. Like anything that begins from the beginning of the battle, like even Bonnie's debuff, those things you really like. But yeah, Lorison, I think he's a good hero, all around solid, but I do not consider him as good as Siren, for example. So yeah, I'm planning maybe to swap Lorison for Siren on the wheel account later in the season, but let's see. Okay, Ludovic. Ludovic is a very good healer, solid S plus tier hero. Honestly, you can even make an argument for him being better than Damien, because Ludovic heals from the beginning of the match. Massive healing in like one tile around him, basically, in his Everbloom field. And so if you have the Elijah twins right next to him, if you have another carry like Cryonaira right next to him, he's going to heal them. He's going to protect them, and that is going to give your team, that is going to allow you to survive the burst of the opponent, which is good to counter Greyborn faction talent nuking comps. It is good to counter Iron nuking teams, because then all of your team is grouped up together, and they can all be grouped up on Ludovic's field, and he can heal them back up. So Ludovic, very top tier support for PvP, definitely S plus tier, but that is as far as he'll go. Lumont, he's like Mauler Stroll type strategy with Hodgkin, we'll put him in the B tier. Leica, good support for diagonal comps, but that is it. So I'm going to put in the A tier just for that reason. Like A tier are kind of the niche more supports, but definitely she is, for diagonal comps, you need to have, like Leica is one of the best options, so she's a Paragon priority, but it's only really for diagonal where she is good. In my opinion, Merrily, only Dream Realm hero, not a PvP hero. Muriel has a Supreme Plus upgrade, but honestly, guys, she's just not a good option. Don't run her in PvP. Don't try to Paragon upgrade her or anything like that. They're just more important things out there. Mikola is like a decent support. I think I can put her in the A tier. However, she's just not amazing. Like she did better in the Mauler meta, like Song of Strife season. No, sorry. Mikola did better in the Mauler meta, like the previous season, Waves of Intrigue, where we had those crazy Mauler buff tiles, but other than that, she's just not the greatest option out there. Okay, Odie. Odie is a good damage dealer. I'm going to put in the S tier. I like him a lot. The thing is, he is very faction tile dependent. For regular arena, you're quickly, like in the early game, you're going to be using him, but pretty soon you're going to phase him out on offense and defense both. For Supreme Arena, he's good if he has faction talent support, or if you can keep him protected. So I like Odie, overall solid S tier PvP hero, but that is as far as I can take him. Okay, Rainier. Rainier is going to be an S tier support. Rainier, he is better on offense when you can plan who to position swap. On defense, the issue is people can position around it. In the previous season, Waves of Intrigue, he had much more value because all of the faction tiles were in the back. But now the problem is you have Mauler faction tiles which are not on the back. You have Wilder tiles. I don't even know exactly the Wilder mechanic. If the opponent is concealed at the beginning of the fight, I don't know if the Rainier swap actually goes off on them. I haven't paid enough attention to that. But either way, Rainier has those issues. And then the thing is, after the position swap, Rainier is providing almost nothing to the team. I don't value him after that position swap. And it's providing damage reduction, damage boost taken onto the enemy that he's swapping. But overall, I just do not consider Rainier like a top tier PvP hero. I'm going to keep him in the S tier. I think he belongs here, but right at the end of it, and you can even make an argument to have him in the A tier. I just do not think he's a major priority for your PvP performance. Okay, Nero. Nero is going to be in the A tier along with Brian. They do the same job, which is to prevent the enemy Lily May from interrupting your key hero. So yeah, and I mean, it is seeing a lot of use this season, especially also to his charms, which will convert some of the damage into true damage. That is really powerful for PvP. So that is good. Okay, Nara. Nara, I'm just going to put in the B tier along with Hodgkin. Very niche uses, not a top tier PvP hero, because like if the opponent enemy is unaffected who she tries to draw in, it just will not bring them in. And then her she's just like damage. She doesn't have much utility other than that. Reese, I'm gonna put in the C tier. Honestly, I don't think you should be building up Reese. Like, there were times where he saw some use, but he's just not a good PvP hero to be building up. Fresto. Freesto, I'm gonna put him in the S plus tier. Yeah, Freesto will be in the S plus tier. Very good tank. He has decent damage. He's difficult to kill, and he provides good, useful buffs from this Crimson Contract. I really think the Crimson Contract is a major reason he's good for PvP, and you can run him in Hypergy and Celestial teams, or just as a tank in other teams. He's a good option, but not like a top tier. And also, he is a bit susceptible to enemies Iron nuking your comp because, like, yeah, like the Iron nuke can still kill Freesto if you don't have enough healing. Okay, Prissa. Prissa, I think, is an A tier hero. She's pretty good. She has useful buffs for allies. So, like, similar to Leica, kind of, buffing up allies. And her own damage is pretty high as well. So, not a bad hero. Scarlita. Scarlita, I'm going to put at the end of the S tier. She's about, like, the Rainier tier. The thing with Scarlita is that well, in some fights, it's actually worse for you to have Scarlita than having another hero, because Scarlita is just not doing enough for the first 17 or 18 seconds of the match while she's in the air. When she comes down, then she's actually having kill threat, she's actually giving your team an advantage, but when she's in the air, it's not enough. Just shielding one ally, increasing their defenses a bit, is not impactful enough. So basically, she does only well in stall comps that can handle their own. They can survive on their own. So they don't need like a fifth hero to help them out, and then she can come down and finish people off. So that's basically her only strategy. So she's definitely underwhelming in PvP for that reason, but she's still an S tier in my opinion, but at like the bottom, towards the bottom of it. Rowan is an A tier hero, kind of like Hugin. It's just like buffing up your energy for your allies. I think there's great synergy with like Cryonia, but it can be countered by the opponent who has Lily May or if they have Dunlinger. And also Rowan is kind of squishy, easy to kill, so that is kind of the issue. Citrana is kind of like a tech option for PvP, trying to spread Bonnie's debuffs a bit more rapidly and also provide vitality decrease on the opponent. So definitely is a solid hero, but I don't necessarily think that she is going to be above the A tier. Okay, Sylvina. Sylvina, I also have to put in the A tier. I can't actually put Sylvina in the S tier. I like Sylvina a lot, but the problem is her damage is not enough. The other issue is that if the opponent has any positioning to counter Sylvina, then good luck getting any value out of her. And she's fine on the Greyborn faction talents. I think that is one way that she's pretty good. But again, the opponent can counter it by having like a Brutus in the back, or they can have a Talion in the back. So she's very counterable. That is her issue. So she's kind of limited to an offense hero. Okay, Salazar, I'm going to put in the C tier because I don't recommend people build him up. He's just not a top tier. Like, these heroes, you can, like I've said before, you can make pretty much any hero work in PvP, but why should you make them work? Like, the hero should already be putting in the work and you try to like maximize their potential. Like, if you have to do everything just to make the hero work at a bare minimum, then that's not, I don't think it's a hero to be investing in. Sinbad honestly is pretty interesting. I honestly don't think he's a bad PvP hero. I'm going to put him at the end of the A tier. It's just that there are better options out there. Like, Sinbad has good debuffs, which can help you break through the front line. He has survival issues, that is a problem. On Wilder faction talents, he's pretty good this season, so that is one thing to keep in mind. Okay, now we have Smokey. So Smokey is not a good PvP hero. He's actually really bad for PvP. Like, the thing is, he can get controlled, and then his aura is, when he's interrupted, his aura gets interrupted as well, and then he needs to wait a few seconds before he can recast it. And if he's not casting his aura, he's doing nothing for your team. So that is the issue. Like, Smokey, until you have faction talent support, he's not a good PvP hero. So I'm just gonna have to put him in the B tier. I can't even put him in the A tier. Soren is a decent PvP hero. As a damage dealer option. He does need faction talents to get to his full potential, but I do think he's an A tier hero definitely for PvP. Sonya also an A tier hero for PvP, not higher than that because Sonya has survival issues. If you could guarantee that Sonya survives long enough to cast your ultimate and provide that damage reduction to her and her buffed up allies and the permanent buffs onto them even if she dies from that point on, then she would be definitely S tier above. The problem is most fights, if you're going to have Sonya, if you're running her, she's going to die before casting her ultimate, or the fight will already be decided. Maybe your buffed up allies are going to die before she casts your ultimate. And you really need her damage reduction to get value out of her, and that is only after she casts her ultimate. So that is a problem with Sonya. It's just, she's just not, she just doesn't provide enough value until that ultimate cast. Thorin is an S plus tier hero. Yeah, definitely. Thorin is one of the best PvP heroes in the game, because he does have kill threat, but more important than that, he has a good protection for an ally. He has multiple lives. He's just very difficult to kill, and that is really powerful. Now Cryonia is going to counter him, because Cryonia will instantly turn him into the ice sculpture and kill him. He won't be able to revive himself, so Thorin definitely loses value off of that. However, do we have to put him in the S tier? I don't know. I still want to put him in the S plus tier. I still do think Thorin is a top tier PvP hero. Good protection, good survival against everything other than Cryonia. So I think he's an S plus tier hero. Temesia, not a good PvP hero. We're going to put in the B tier. Okay, guys, we're nearing the end here. We have our next hero, which we're going to be putting in the S double plus tier here, is going to be Tasi. So why Tasi? Tasi has a potential to solo the enemy team all by herself. If you Paragon upgrade your Tasi, if you spread debuffs from Bonnie onto the opponent, Tasi can clear almost any team in the game. And this is what I wanted to talk about, Cryonia. So I've fought a lot of duel matches against opponents who have Cryonia, and they can be running insane comps, like Paragon 4, full comps. Even like someone was running Twins, Siren, Cryonia, crazy Hypogean Celestial team with 30 faction talents. My Tasi was still able to solo that team, even after Cryonia wiped out all of my other allies. Because the thing is, Cryonia will lock, even if Tasi is in the frozen domain, Cryonia is going to burst Tasi. But then Tasi has her invincibility proc, and then she heals back up. Then Cryonia is going to burst her again, and then again, invincibility proc, Tasi heals back up. Cryonia is not able to reliably get an execution onto Tasi, neither is Siren. So Tasi has a protection against that. And then all it takes is one ultimate cast from Tasi, she can clear the entire enemy team. Especially if you have like a decent artifact running, if you have the Bonnie debuffs on the opponent, all ready to weaken them down a little bit, then Tasi has great solo potential. And that is why Damien synergizes really well with Tasi. Damien can respawn himself, provide a bit of haste to the Tasi, and heal up the Tasi again, and then Tasi can clean them up. Tasi is a top tier PvP hero. I'm completely confident in my placement of her in the S double plus tier, and all three heroes I have in the S double plus tier, I'm completely confident with them being here. I can understand if you think other heroes maybe belong here, or maybe one of these should move down, but in my opinion, I think these are the top 3 PvP heroes in the game currently. And Tasi, I think, is also one of the most future proofs, because if any other better hypercarry comes out, Tasi can still always have solo potential onto them. She has that great survival and solo potential no matter what happens. Okay, next up we have Vala. Vala, I'm not going to even put in the S tier. I could potentially put Vala in the S tier. But I'm going to put her around the Sylvina level. The problem is Vala on defense is counterable, very counterable, because you know exactly where to position your hero to take the Vala mark. The other problem is Vala doesn't nuke hard enough. She deals bonus damage to the marked enemy, but she doesn't have like massive nuke at the beginning of the match. And she's also has survival issues until she gets a kill. So Vala is not a top tier PvP hero anymore. I think just A tier is good enough for her. Talene. You might be thinking, am I going to put Talene as double plus tier? No, I can't put Talene as double plus tier, because Talene, before Cryonia was released, I would be putting Talene as double plus tier, but now with Cryonia in existence, Talene has lost a lot of value, because all it takes, if you have Talene on your defense, it is no longer like a stall, like an infinite stall hero. Cryonia just needs one ultimate, Talene is gone. So I really still like Talene. I think she is a top tier PvP hero. She is really good for spreading Bonnie debuffs. The first skill of Talene, the active cast, it deals AoE damage in the area where the most enemies are, and it deals magical damage. That will really help rapidly spread the aging magic debuff of Bonnie. So I think that Bonnie, Talene, they're amazing together. However, Cryonia counters Talene, and so Talene is no longer as double plus tier. Talene was, before Cryonia was in existence, Talene was one of the top PvP heroes in the game, but Cryonia really hit Talene hard. It hit Talene the hardest of them all. Bonnie, Not really, because Bonnie has her debuffs, and then even if Bonnie dies from that point on, if you stall them out with the Tossie, the Bonnie debuffs can keep ticking the whole time, and Tossie will just stall and then eventually finish them off. That's why Bonnie and Tossie are still not affected by the Cry Knight. The Cry Knight still can kill these Tossie Bonnie comps, don't get me wrong. However, the Tossie Bonnie comp always has the potential, with equal level of investment, to kill a Cry Knight comp, no matter what you're running with Cry Knight. So far from all the things I've seen, there is no Cry Knight comp which is 100% going to clear a Tossie Bonnie optimal comp. So yeah, there's always that chance of Tossie soloing, and it's not even like a really low chance. There's a reasonable chance of it happening. And then Lily May, yeah, for her interruption, which is so game changing. Almas is a good hero. I honestly, I want to put Almas in the S plus tier, and I think I'm going to do it. Yeah, we're going to put Almas in the S plus tier. You might think, are you crazy? Why are you putting Almas in the S plus tier? The thing with Almas is that he is a tank that is not only just for the Iron, like prolonging the effect of knockdowns. Almas is a tank which is also difficult to remove from the fight. Because when you deal damage and he drops below 30% health, his passive of his ultimate is going to cause him to jump to the backline, begin healing, and become unaffected. And that is really valuable. It is really good, like in this season, with the Wilder faction tiles, because Almas is going to not be easy to kill, and that means that your concealed duration is going to be maximum onto your heroes on the buff tiles. So that is why Almas is good. Also himself, he has good crowd control in his kit. He synergizes with Iron, of course. He's a top tier PvP hero. Almas really is. Almas is a top tier, belonging in the S plus tier. I have no question about that. I might move the Thorin down to the S tier, but I do think Thorin also belongs in the S plus tier. Okay, so we just have a couple more heroes left, guys. We just have Velka is a hero which I'm going to put in the A tier. I can put it at the top of the A tier, but I don't think I'm going to put it S tier above, because she has a bit of ability to counter enemy Lily May. When she begins casting her ultimate, it only costs her like 100 energy to cast it, and Lily May will interrupt her, and that can protect the Lily May interruption for the rest of your team. But the thing is, it does take time for Velka to be able to even charge up to cast her ultimate. The other problem is that, like, Velka has a good attack speed buff, she has a shield at the beginning of the fight, but she's not doing enough for your team, basically. She's fine in PvP, but she's just kind of like, yeah, I mean, you could throw her into a comp, but she's not like the game-changing unit of the comp. She's not necessarily gonna improve the comp by that much. So it's just kind of like, yeah, she's fine. She's just an average hero, so she belongs in the A tier. I don't think she belongs above the A tier. Okay, next up we have Valen C tier. Pretty easy to say. And then finally we have Viperion. Viperion is interesting. I'm gonna put in the A tier because Viperion has damage potential. If you guys have been playing from global launch, you might even have Paragon upgrades into Viperion, in which case he can be a decent option, along with Ludovic healing. You can use him. So Raguto, who is a player who he does free-to-play testing for us for Dream Realm sometimes. He uses Viperion on his Wilder faction tile, and that is really good because it gives Viperion the survival he needs, and also not taking any damage, but also being able to deal high damage. So I think Viperion is a fine hero. Decent PvP option, but just not necessarily top tier. Okay guys, so here we have the final PvP tier list. I'm very happy with it. Now, in terms of your upgrade priority, you can Paragon upgrade the heroes following these tier lists. For example, the S plus, double plus tier heroes, these should always be your hardest focus for Paragon priority upgrades. Then for the S plus tier, you can then be working on them after you've maximized the Paragon upgrades of your S double plus tier heroes. Now, it doesn't mean like, okay, you have to begin building Diona, Cryonia, Talene, Harak. You don't have to build up all these heroes. It's just like, if you have these heroes and you've built them up, you should keep them on your wish list and try to Paragon upgrade them. Celestial Hypogean is another story. Like, upgrading Celestial Hypogean through Paragon is only if you are a heavy spender and you're able to do so. Otherwise, just get the hero to Supreme Plus. They get their first round of rivalry stats. Upgrading them further doesn't have great returns on investment, and it comes just down to how much are you wanting to spend. But for the main faction heroes, yes, work on all of these heroes to S plus or to the Paragon upgrades in the S plus tier. And then once those are all done to maximum, then go for the S tier. And you can work your way down basically. But overall, I'm very happy with this. You guys can take a screenshot of it. At the bottom, there's have Kafra, Faye, Reese, and Salazar. You guys can see the top half of their faces. They're just not important heroes. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you think about this tier list in the comment section down below. Do you disagree with anything? Do you have any other changes you would like to do for the placement? And yeah, what is the next hero you're going to be focusing? Paragon upgrading. But thank you guys for watching. If you're not already subscribed to our YouTube channel, please subscribe. We're on our road to 20,000 subscribers, and hit that bell icon so you're notified of our latest video upload. Also guys, feel free to join my AFK Journey Discord server. There's a link to that in the description of this video. But thank you guys for watching. I'll hopefully see you in the next video. And until then, everyone, peace out for now.